A teacher humiliates a black student in front of everyone, unaware of who his mother is. Dare Ellis stepped into the school's gymnasium, the scent of sweat and polished wood mingling in the air, a familiar comfort amidst the chaos of high school life. Sunlight streamed through the high windows, casting a warm glow on the basketball court where he had spent countless hours practicing. Today was supposed to be another day of drills and scrimmages, but lurking in the back of his mind was the dreaded fitness test, a hurdle he had been dreading since it had been announced last week. The gym buzzed with energy as students filtered in, some laughing, others stretching or shooting hoops. Darius exchanged friendly nods with his teammates, his heart racing with anticipation for the upcoming practice. He was a star on the basketball team, known for his agility and sharp shooting skills, but he often felt the weight of expectations pressing down. He was more than just an athlete. He wanted to prove himself academically too, but the balance was harder to manage than he had anticipated. "Hey, Dare, you ready for the test?" Jamal, his best friend since childhood, called out as he jogged over. Jamal was the opposite of Darius in many ways, studious and methodical, always ready with a study plan or a pep talk. "Ready as I'll ever be," Darius replied, forcing a grin. He shoved his hands into the pockets of his gym shorts, feeling the coolness of the fabric against his skin. "I just hope Mr. Thompson doesn't make it a bigger deal than it needs to be." "Come on, it's just a fitness test. You'll crush it. You're like a freight train on the court," Jamal said, clapping Darius on the back. "Yeah, but this isn't basketball," Darius replied, a hint of anxiety creeping into his voice. "I'm not exactly Mr. Fitness when it comes to running laps. Just focus on the end game. You got this," Jamal encouraged, flashing a charismatic smile that always seemed to uplift Darius. As the gym filled up, the atmosphere shifted slightly. Mr. Thompson, their gym teacher, a burly man with a no-nonsense attitude, entered. He surveyed the room with a critical eye, arms crossed over his chest, and a frown etched on his face. Darius couldn't help but feel a shiver of dread run down his spine. Mr. Thompson had a reputation for being tough on students, especially those he felt weren't pulling their weight. "Listen up, class," Mr. Thompson barked, his voice booming across the gym. "Today we're doing a fitness test. This isn't just for grades, it's about pushing yourselves to be better. I expect everyone to give their all." Darius nodded, trying to shake off the nervousness that threatened to bubble over. He loved basketball, but the fitness test felt like a test of his worth beyond the court, a judgment on his character. As the warm-up began, he joined his classmates, stretching and jogging in place, but his mind wandered to the looming test and the pressure he felt from both his peers and teachers. "All right, let's get started," Mr. Thompson shouted, clapping his hands together. The class lined up for the shuttle run, and Darius felt his stomach twist. He watched as students took their turns, some struggling, others excelling, and when his name was called, he stepped onto the line, determination flooding his veins. "Come on, Dare, you got this," Jamal shouted from the sidelines. Darius took a deep breath, focusing on the finish line. He sprinted forward, his feet pounding against the gym floor, adrenaline pumping through his veins. He felt the rush of victory as he crossed the line, but it was short-lived. Mr. Thompson's voice cut through the air, harsh and unforgiving. "Ellis, what was that? You call that a run?" Mr. Thompson shouted, his tone dripping with disdain. "You're a basketball player, for crying out loud. You should be faster than that." Darius felt his heart sink. The laughter from his classmates echoed in his ears, a chorus of mockery that made his cheeks flush. He stood there, frozen for a moment, as Mr. Thompson continued to berate him in front of everyone. "Maybe if you spent less time on the court and more time focusing on your fitness, you wouldn't be so out of shape." Mr. Thompson's words stung like a slap to the face. Darius's fists clenched at his sides, fighting back a wave of humiliation that threatened to wash over him. He could feel the eyes of his classmates on him, their laughter and whispers turning his world upside down. He had always been proud of his skills, but now, standing there, he felt like a failure, a stereotype. "Enough, Thompson," Jamal shouted, stepping forward, fists balled at his sides. "You don't have to treat him like that. Stay out of this, Jamal. This is about Darius and his lack of effort." Mr. Thompson shot back, glaring at Jamal. Darius could feel the heat rising in his cheeks, a mix of anger and embarrassment. He wanted to defend himself, to tell Mr. Thompson that he was trying his best, that balancing sports and the school was harder than it looked. but the words stuck in his throat, trapped by the weight of humiliation. "Just get it together, Ellis," Mr. Thompson continued, dismissing him with a wave of his hand. "We'll do better next time." Darius nodded, biting back the tears that threatened to spill. He turned away, his heart heavy, as he walked to the sidelines. The laughter still echoed in his ears, and he felt the sting of Mr. Thompson's words lingering long after the gym had settled into practice. As practice continued, Darius struggled to keep his mind on the game. He felt distracted, the humiliation of the fitness test weighing on him like a lead weight. He could hear Jamal trying to cheer him up, but the words felt hollow against the backdrop of Mr. Thompson's ridicule. "Dare, you gotta shake it off," Jamal said, clapping him on the shoulder. "You're better than this. Just focus on the game." "Easier said than done," Darius replied, forcing a smile. "It's hard to forget when everyone's laughing at you." "Forget them. You know who you are. You're not just a basketball player. You're more than that," Jamal urged, his eyes earnest. "Yeah, I know," Darius said, but the words felt empty. He was tired of being seen as just an athlete. He wanted to prove his worth, not only to his teammates, but to himself, to the teachers who underestimated him. After practice, Darius lingered at the gym's edge, watching his teammates joke and laugh. The camaraderie felt distant, like a world he wasn't part of anymore. He picked up his backpack, the weight of it feeling heavier than usual, and headed toward the locker room. "Dare, wait up," Jamal called, jogging to catch up. "You coming to the game tonight?" "Yeah, I'll be there," Darius replied, but his heart wasn't in it. He wanted to support his team, but the sting of humiliation was still fresh. As he walked through the corridors of the school, Darius's mind churned with thoughts of Mr. Thompson's words. They replayed in his head like a broken record, each repetition deepening the ache in his chest. He wanted to confront Mr. Thompson, to demand respect, but a part of him feared the consequences. What would happen if he stood up for himself? Would it make things worse? "Dare!" A voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Ms. Reynolds, the history teacher, her warm smile instantly easing his heart. "I've been meaning to talk to you about your last paper. It was fantastic." "Thanks, Ms. Reynolds," Darius replied, feeling a flicker of pride. Ms. Reynolds had always believed in him, pushing him to excel both in and out of the classroom. "You're capable of so much more than you realize. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise," she said, her eyes sincere. Darius nodded, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over him. "I'll try not to." As he left her office, he felt a renewed sense of determination. He would confront Mr. Thompson. He had to. The humiliation had gone far enough. He wasn't just a basketball player, and he wanted to show everyone, especially Mr. Thompson, that he was more than their assumptions. That evening, as Darius prepared for the game, he thought about how much his mother would be there to support him. She was a motivational speaker, often sharing her own experiences of overcoming obstacles. He admired her strength and determination, and he wanted to embody those qualities too. The gymnasium was packed with students, parents, and teachers, the energy electric. Darius felt the adrenaline coursing through his veins as he took to the court, the cheers of the crowd lifting him. For a moment, he forgot the humiliation he had faced earlier. He focused on the game, channeling all his frustration into every dribble and shot. "We need you, Dare!" Jamal called out, his voice cutting through the noise. Darius nodded, determination flooding his system. He played like a man possessed, each shot finding its mark, each assist a testament to his skill. The crowd roared as the final buzzer sounded, their team victorious. After the game, as Darius soaked in the camaraderie of his teammates, he felt a sense of belonging wash over him. This was where he thrived, and he knew he had to harness this feeling as he prepared for the confrontation with Mr. Thompson. As the gym emptied out and students filed out, Darius felt a mix of excitement and dread. He spotted Jamal in the crowd, who gave him a reassuring nod. "You ready for this?" Jamal asked, concern etched on his face. "Yeah, I think so," Darius replied, his heart racing. "I have to do this. Just remember, you're not alone. I'll be right here if you need backup," Jamal said, clapping him on the back one last time before heading towards the exit. Darius took a deep breath, letting the adrenaline from the game settle in his veins. He walked toward the gym office where Mr. Thompson was likely still organizing equipment. As he approached, he could hear the muffled sounds of metal clanging and the rustle of paper. Each step felt heavy, as if the weight of the moment was pressing down on him. He knocked on the doorframe, his voice steady despite the fluttering in his stomach. "Mr. Thompson, can we talk?" Mr. Thompson looked up, surprise flickering across his face. "Darius, what's on your mind? Shouldn't you be celebrating the win?" "Yeah, about that. I wanted to talk about earlier," Darius said, his voice firm but respectful. "Earlier? You mean the fitness test?" Mr. Thompson replied, his brow furrowing slightly. "I'm just trying to push you." "Darius, you've got potential and I wanted to see you reach it." Darius felt his jaw tighten. "You pushed me all right. But you didn't just push me. You humiliated me in front of my classmates. You made it sound like I don't care about my fitness or my education." Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow, leaning back in his chair. "That wasn't my intention. You know how I am. Tough love, right?" "Tough love?" Darius echoed, incredulity lacing his voice. "It's one thing to motivate, but it's another to tear someone down. You called me out without knowing anything about me. I'm trying to balance basketball and school, and it's not easy." Mr. Thompson crossed his arms, his expression hardening. "You're an athlete, Darius. You're expected to perform at a higher level. You can't slack off and expect everyone to coddle you." Darius felt a surge of frustration. "I'm not asking for coddling. I'm asking for respect. You don't know my story, my struggles. My mom is a motivational speaker who fights for kids like me to have opportunities, and I want to make her proud. But you only see me as an athlete." Mr. Thompson's expression shifted as he processed Darius's words. "I've seen a lot of kids come through here, Darius. Some work hard, and others think they can coast on their talents. I've got to treat everyone the same. Maybe if you took the time to get to know us, you'd see that we're not all the same." Darius shot back, his voice rising with emotion. "You don't know what it's like to be judged based on what people think you are instead of who you really are." Silence settled between them, the air thick with tension. Darius's heart raced, the weight of the moment hanging heavily in the air. He could feel his pulse pounding in his ears, the fear of what would happen next clawing at him. Finally, Mr. Thompson sighed, the hardness in his eyes softening just a fraction. "I didn't mean to put you in that position, Darius. I thought I was helping." "Helping doesn't mean tearing someone down," Darius replied, feeling a flicker of hope. "You have to understand that words matter. They shape how we see ourselves." "I get that," Mr. Thompson said, rubbing the back of his neck. "But you have to understand that I want you to succeed. I see potential in you. I don't always know how to express that." Darius felt a rush of empathy for the man before him. "Maybe you could try listening more. We're not just athletes. We're students with dreams and fears, too. You can't assume we don't care when we're trying our best." Mr. Thompson nodded slowly, his expression contemplative. "You're right. I've been too rigid. I'll work on that, I promise." Darius took a deep breath, feeling the tension in his chest start to ease. "Thank you. I just want you to know that I'm trying. We all are, but we need support, not criticism." "I'll do better," Mr. Thompson replied, sincerity etched in his voice. "I appreciate you coming to talk to me about this." As Darius turned to leave, he felt a sense of relief wash over him. He had stood up for himself, and despite the earlier humiliation, he had managed to communicate his feelings. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about creating a space where all students felt valued. As he exited the gym, he spotted Jamal waiting outside, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. "How did it go?" he asked. "Better than I expected," Darius replied, a smile breaking through the tension. "I think it's going to be okay." He actually listened. "See, I told you you'd crush it," Jamal grinned, clapping Darius on the shoulder. "You stood up for yourself, man. That's not easy." Darius nodded, feeling a surge of pride. "Thanks for having my back. It means a lot." As they walked out of the school, Darius felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He knew the journey wasn't over. There would be more challenges ahead, both in sports and academics. But for now, he had taken a step toward asserting his identity, proving that he was more than just a basketball player. With his mother's voice echoing in his mind, reminding him of the importance of resilience, Darius felt ready to face whatever came next. He was determined to succeed, not just for himself, but for all the students who felt overlooked or underestimated. "Hey, Dare," Jamal said, interrupting his thoughts. "You know what we should do? We should start a study group for athletes. Help each other out with school while we're at it." Darius raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the idea. "That's actually a great idea. We could use our skills to support each other." Let's do it. Awesome. I'll spread the word, Jamal replied, his enthusiasm infectious. As they made their way to the parking lot, Darius felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was ready to take charge of his academic future, to defy the stereotypes that had been placed upon him. He would show everyone, especially Mr. Thompson, that he could excel both on and off the court. With a grin, Darius turned to Jamal. And who knows, maybe we'll inspire some of the other athletes to step up too. Exactly, Jamal exclaimed. We're going to change the game, Dare. As they reached their cars, Darius glanced back at the school, a place that had once felt filled with judgment and expectations. But now it felt like a battleground where he could fight for his identity and prove that he was more than just a label. Let's get to work, Darius said, determination surging within him. He was ready to take this challenge head-on, not just for himself, but for every student who needed a voice. The following day, Darius Dare Ellis woke with a renewed sense of determination. The confrontation with Mr. Thompson had given him a new perspective, and he was ready to prove himself both on the court and in the classroom. But as he got ready for school, he couldn't shake the feeling that more challenges lay ahead. Walking through the school's bustling halls, Darius felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. The echoes of yesterday's victory were still present, but he knew that change wouldn't happen overnight. He had planted the seed with Mr. Thompson, but now it was time to nurture it and see it grow. As he approached his locker, he saw Jamal leaning against it, a smile on his face. "Morning, champ. You ready for round two?" Darius chuckled, feeling the tension ease slightly. "Always. Did you talk to anyone about the study group?" "Yeah, I mentioned it to a few guys on the team. They seem interested. I think it could really help. Show that we've got brains as well as brawn," Jamal replied. "Great. Let's set up a meeting after practice today. We'll see who's serious about it," Darius said, feeling a sense of purpose settle over him. The first few classes passed in a blur, with Darius focusing on his studies, determined to keep his grades up. He knew that his mother, always his biggest supporter and harshest critic, expected nothing less. Her motivational speeches often echoed in his mind, pushing him to strive for excellence. As lunchtime approached, Darius felt a familiar nervousness return. He knew he'd likely see Mr. Thompson, and he wasn't sure how their conversation had settled with the gym teacher overnight. Had it made a lasting impact, or would things go back to the way they were? He made his way to the cafeteria, the noise and chatter enveloping him like a comforting blanket. Darius spotted a table where Jamal and a few other teammates had already gathered, their trays piled with food. "Hey, Dare," one of his teammates called out, waving him over. "Heard you gave Thompson a piece of your mind." Darius grinned, sliding into a seat. "Something like that. Just trying to make things better for all of us." "Gutsy move, man. Respect," another teammate said, nodding in approval. "Thanks. We've got to look out for each other, right?" Darius replied, feeling a warmth spread through him at their support. As they ate, the conversation drifted to the upcoming games and the pressures of balancing sports and academics. Darius listened, feeling a connection to his teammates' struggles. They were more than just players. They were students with dreams and aspirations beyond the court. When lunch ended, Darius headed to his next class, history with Ms. Reynolds. She was one of the few teachers who saw beyond his athletic persona, recognizing his potential and encouraging his academic pursuits. "Good afternoon, everyone." Ms. Reynolds greeted the class as they settled into their seats. "Today, we'll be discussing the civil rights movement and its impact on education." Darius listened intently, his thoughts drifting to his mother's work. She often spoke about the importance of education as a tool for empowerment, especially in marginalized communities. He found himself drawing parallels between the historical struggles and his own experiences in school. As the class progressed, Ms. Reynolds encouraged discussion, prompting students to share their thoughts. Darius raised his hand, feeling the familiar thrill of participating in a topic he was passionate about. "Yes, Darius," Ms. Reynolds called on him, her expression encouraging. "I think it's important to remember that education is more than just what we learn in books. It's about understanding each other's experiences and using that knowledge to make a difference." Darius said, his voice steady. "Well said, Darius. Education is indeed a powerful tool for change. It's about more than grades. It's about growth and empathy," Ms. Reynolds replied, her eyes shining with approval. Darius felt a sense of pride at her words, the weight of his earlier worries lifting slightly. He knew he was on the right path, And with teachers like Ms. Reynolds supporting him, he felt empowered to continue pushing for change. As the final bell rang, signaling the end of the school day, Darius headed to the gym for practice. The familiar sound of sneakers squeaking on the court and basketballs bouncing filled the air, a symphony that always set him at ease. Coach Stevens gathered the team, his voice booming as he outlined the day's drills. Darius listened, eager to lose himself in the rhythm of the game, to channel his frustrations and aspirations into each play. As practice went on, Darius felt his confidence grow. He was in his element, moving with precision and agility, his mind focused and clear. The camaraderie of his teammates fueled his determination, reminding him of the power of unity. After practice, as the team gathered their things, Darius cleared his throat, drawing their attention. "Hey guys, Jamal and I are starting a study group for athletes. We think it could really help us all keep up with our grades and show everyone we're more than just players." "Count me in," one of his teammates said, a grin spreading across his face. "I could definitely use the help with math." "Same here," another chimed in. "I've got a science test coming up, and I'm clueless." Darius felt a surge of relief at their enthusiasm. "Great. Let's meet in the library after practice tomorrow. We'll figure out a schedule that works for everyone." As they filed out of the gym, Darius felt a renewed sense of purpose. The study group was a step toward changing perceptions, proving to teachers like Mr. Thompson that athletes could excel academically too. The following day, as Darius entered the school, he noticed a change in the air. It was subtle, but there was a sense of curiosity and anticipation among his peers. Word of the study group had spread, and it seemed to have sparked interest beyond just the athletes. In his first class English, Darius found himself distracted by the whispers and glances from classmates. He knew that stepping into the role of a leader, even in a small capacity, came with its own set of challenges and scrutiny. As the day wore on, Darius felt the pressure mounting. He wanted the study group to succeed, not just for himself, but for everyone who had ever felt underestimated. He knew he had to keep pushing forward, to harness the momentum and prove that change was possible. When the final bell rang, Darius made his way to the library, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and apprehension. He was met with the sight of a small group of students, some teammates and others who had heard about the initiative, gathered around a table. "All right, let's get started," Darius said, taking a deep breath as he addressed the group. "The goal here is to support each other, to make sure we're all keeping up with our studies and showing that we're more than just athletes." Jamal nodded, stepping forward to help organize the group. "We can split into smaller groups based on the subjects we need help with. That way we can focus on what each of us needs." As they divided into groups, Darius felt a sense of accomplishment. This was a step toward breaking down the barriers that separated athletes from their academic potential. It was about creating a community of support, where everyone could thrive. As the study session progressed, Darius found himself helping a teammate with history, explaining the significance of key events and figures. He felt a sense of fulfillment in sharing his knowledge, in seeing the understanding dawn on his friend's face. "Thanks, Dare. I think I finally get it," his teammate said, a smile spreading across his face. "No problem. We're all in this together," Darius replied, feeling a warmth spread through him. As the session came to an end, Darius felt a sense of pride in what they had accomplished. The study group was more than just a means to improve grades. It was a testament to their resilience and determination to defy expectations. The following days saw the study group grow, attracting more students who wanted to be part of the movement. Darius felt a sense of responsibility, knowing that they were paving the way for change, one step at a time. As the week came to a close, Darius found himself reflecting on the events that had unfolded. The confrontation with Mr. Thompson had set off a chain reaction, leading to a shift in how athletes were perceived. It was a small victory, but one that gave him hope for the future. He knew there would be more challenges ahead, more moments of doubt and struggle, but he was ready to face them head on. With the support of his friends, teachers, and teammates, Darius felt empowered to continue pushing for change, to prove that they were more than just students. They were leaders, capable of shaping their own destinies. As he walked through the halls of the school, Darius felt a sense of belonging he hadn't felt before. He was part of something bigger, a movement that was challenging the status quo and redefining what it meant to be a student athlete. Darius walked into the gym, where the atmosphere felt different than before. His heart raced as he prepared to face Mr. Thompson again. But this time, he felt a sense of empowerment. He had stood up for himself, proven his academic abilities, and fostered a supportive community among his peers. The study group had not only helped him succeed, it had created a ripple effect, inspiring others to push through their own challenges. As the team began practice, Darius felt a renewed sense of purpose. He understood that they were all in this together, fighting against the stereotypes and expectations placed upon them. With each dribble of the basketball, he felt lighter, more confident, and ready to face whatever came next. The next day arrived with a chill in the air, a stark contrast to the warm sunlight that had bathed the school just days earlier. Darius "Dare" Ellis stepped into the gym, his heart pounding with anticipation. He had faced Mr. Thompson once before, and now he was determined to continue that conversation, to further challenge the assumptions that had been made about him and his peers. As Darius joined his teammates for warm-ups, he noticed Mr. Thompson setting up for the day's drills. The gym felt charged with energy, a mix of excitement and anxiety. Darius could sense that his classmates were still buzzing from their midterm results, but he also knew that the real test was yet to come. "Hey, Dare, you ready for today?" Jamal asked, bouncing a basketball as they stretched. "Yeah, I think so. I just want to keep the momentum going," Darius replied, his mind racing with thoughts of the study group and the upcoming challenges. "Let's show Mr. Thompson what we're made of," Jamal said, determination shining in his eyes. As the practice began, Darius felt the rhythm of the game take over. He dribbled the ball, weaving in and out of defenders, feeling the thrill of competition coursing through him. But in the back of his mind, the weight of his earlier confrontation with Mr. Thompson lingered. He wanted to keep the lines of communication open, to ensure that their dialogue continued. After an intense practice session, Darius decided it was time to approach Mr. Thompson again. He felt the need to reinforce the importance of understanding students as individuals, rather than just athletes. He gathered his courage and walked toward the gym teacher, who was packing up equipment. "Mr. Thompson, do you have a minute?" Darius called out, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. Mr. Thompson looked up, surprise flickering in his eyes. "Sure, Darius. What's on your mind?" "I wanted to talk about our last conversation and the feedback I received from the team," Darius began, choosing his words carefully. "I think it's important that we continue this dialogue. I want to ensure that we're on the same page moving forward." Mr. Thompson nodded, his expression shifting from one of surprise to contemplation. "I appreciate that. It's not often students come to me with feedback. I want to understand your perspective." Darius took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "We're all dealing with a lot: sports, academics, pressures from home. It can be overwhelming, and sometimes it feels like the expectations are stacked against us. I think if we work together, we can create a better environment for everyone." "I hear you," Mr. Thompson replied, his tone more reflective. "It's easy for me to get caught up in what I expect from athletes. I need to remember that you're students first." Darius felt a flicker of hope. "Exactly. We want to prove ourselves, but we also need support along the way. It would mean a lot if you could approach us with that understanding." "I appreciate your honesty, Darius. I'll do my best to be more mindful," Mr. Thompson said, a hint of sincerity in his voice. As Darius walked away, he felt a sense of accomplishment. He had taken another step toward fostering understanding and empathy within the school. He knew it wouldn't happen overnight, but he felt hopeful that change was possible. The following week brought a new wave of challenges as the school prepared for the upcoming basketball game against a rival team. Darius felt the pressure mounting, not just to perform on the court, but to continue advocating for his peers. The study group had become a lifeline, but he knew they needed to maintain their momentum. As the day of the game approached, Darius and Jamal organized a pep rally to boost morale and encourage their classmates to come out and support the team. They wanted to create a sense of community, emphasizing that they were all in this together, regardless of their individual struggles. "Let's show everyone what we're capable of," Darius said to his teammates during practice. "This isn't just about basketball, it's about unity. We need to support each other in every way." The night of the game arrived, and the atmosphere in the gym was electric. Darius felt a mix of excitement and nerves as the crowd filled the stands. He glanced over at Jamal, who was bouncing on the balls of his feet, ready to cheer on their team. "Let's do this," Jamal shouted, his enthusiasm infectious. As the game commenced, Darius channeled all his energy into each play. The sound of sneakers squeaking against the hardwood floor and the rhythmic bounce of the basketball created a symphony of competition. He felt alive, his body moving in sync with the game, his mind focused on the task at hand. Throughout the first half, Darius played exceptionally well, scoring points and assisting his teammates. The crowd erupted with cheers as they pulled ahead, and Darius felt a surge of pride. But as the second half began, the tide started to shift. The rival team came out strong, pushing back with relentless energy. Darius could feel the pressure mounting as the minutes ticked by on the clock. He saw his teammates growing frustrated, and he knew he had to keep them motivated. "Stay focused. We can do this," Darius shouted, rallying his teammates as they took a timeout. "Yeah, but they're relentless," one of his teammates replied, panting heavily. "Exactly. We need to match their intensity. Remember our training, our teamwork," Darius urged, his voice steady and determined. As the game resumed, Darius felt a renewed sense of purpose. He pushed himself harder, diving for loose balls, making strategic plays, and encouraging his teammates to do the same. The crowd's energy surged, and Darius could feel the atmosphere electrifying around him. But then, in a critical moment, Darius found himself facing off against one of the rival team's star players. The tension in the gym was palpable as the two players battled for control of the ball. Darius felt the weight of the moment, knowing that this play could determine the outcome of the game. As he lunged for the ball, his heart raced, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He could hear the roars of the crowd, the voices of his friends and teammates urging him on. But as he reached for the ball, he felt a sharp pain in his ankle, and suddenly, he was on the floor. The gym fell silent as Darius grimaced, clutching his ankle. He could feel the heat rising in his cheeks, a mix of frustration and disbelief washing over him. He had fought so hard, and now this injury threatened to derail everything. "Dare!" Jamal shouted, rushing to his side. "Are you okay?" Darius gritted his teeth, trying to push through the pain. "I think I twisted it. Just give me a second." As the trainers rushed onto the court, Darius felt his heart sink. He knew that being sidelined now could mean missing out on the rest of the game, and potentially the rest of the season. The thought filled him with dread. "Stay still, Darius. Let's take a look," one of the trainers said, kneeling beside him as the crowd murmured with concern. Darius winced as they examined his ankle, the pain radiating through him. He could hear the whispers of his teammates and the spectators, their voices a muffled backdrop to his racing thoughts. "I can't believe this is happening," Darius muttered, frustration boiling over. After what felt like an eternity, the trainer helped him to his feet, but the pain was sharp. "It's a sprain, but we'll need to get you to the medical room for further evaluation. You won't be able to continue playing tonight." Darius felt a sense of defeat wash over him. He had worked so hard, not only for himself but for his team, and now he was going to miss this critical moment. The crowd erupted into cheers for the rival team as they took advantage of Darius's absence, and the weight of the moment crashed down on him. As he hobbled off the court, Jamal stayed close by his side, his expression a mix of concern and encouragement. "You'll be okay, Dare. We'll get through this together." But as Darius sat in the medical room, waiting for the trainers to assess the damage, he felt the weight of disappointment settle in. He had been making strides, advocating for himself and his teammates, and now it felt as if everything was unraveling. "Hey, Darius," a familiar voice broke through his thoughts. It was Ms. Reynolds, entering the room with a warm smile. "I heard what happened. Are you all right?" "Just a sprain, but it feels like a setback," Darius replied, frustration evident in his tone. Ms. Reynolds sat beside Darius, her presence comforting amidst the turmoil. "Setbacks are part of the journey, Darius. They don't define you. How you respond to them does," she said gently. Darius nodded, taking in her words. Despite the pain in his ankle and the disappointment of missing out on the game, he realized that this was just another challenge to overcome. He had faced adversity before, and he would do so again. With the support of his friends, teammates, and teachers, he knew he could find a way to rise above this setback. The days following his injury were a whirlwind of emotions for Darius. Initially, frustration and disappointment clouded his thoughts, but he quickly realized that this was an opportunity to refocus and reinforce the values he had been advocating for all along. The sprain, while painful, was a temporary setback, and Darius was committed to not letting it derail his progress. As he hobbled through the halls on crutches, Darius was met with an outpouring of support from his classmates and teachers. The study group he had helped form continued to thrive, and his teammates rallied around him, determined to keep the momentum going both in academics and athletics. "Dare, how's the ankle?" Jamal asked, catching up with him between classes. "Getting better, slowly but surely," Darius replied, managing a smile. "I'll be back on the court soon enough. You know we've got your back, right? The team's been practicing hard, and we're all pushing for you," Jamal said, his tone earnest. "I appreciate it, man. It means a lot," Darius said, feeling a warmth spread through him at the support of his friends. With the basketball season still in full swing, Darius dedicated his time off the court to mentoring his teammates and focusing on his studies. He became more involved in the study group, helping others tackle difficult subjects and sharing strategies for balancing sports and academics. His injury had sidelined him from the game, but it hadn't sidelined him from being a leader. The school community began to take notice of the positive changes unfolding. Teachers who had once viewed athletes through a narrow lens started to see them as multifaceted individuals, capable of excelling in various areas of life. Mr. Thompson, in particular, seemed more receptive to Darius's efforts, often checking in on his progress and commending the study group's success. "Darius, I've been hearing great things about the study group," Mr. Thompson said one afternoon as they crossed paths in the hallway. "You've done a remarkable job leading your peers." "Thanks, Mr. Thompson. It's been a team effort. We're all working hard to support each other," Darius replied, appreciating the acknowledgement. As the weeks passed, Darius's ankle began to heal, and he worked diligently with the physical therapist to regain his strength and agility. Each session brought him closer to returning to the game he loved, but it also taught him valuable lessons in patience and perseverance. Meanwhile, the study group continued to flourish. Students from different backgrounds and interests joined, creating a diverse and dynamic environment where everyone felt valued and empowered. The group's success was a testament to the power of collaboration and determination, and it inspired others to challenge the status quo. One afternoon, as the group gathered in the library for another study session, Darius took a moment to reflect on how far they had come. The room was filled with laughter and conversation, a stark contrast to the initial uncertainty that had surrounded their efforts. "Hey, everyone," Darius said, addressing the group. "I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge all of you. We've built something incredible here, and it's because of each and every one of you. Keep pushing, keep supporting each other, and know that you are capable of achieving amazing things." The group erupted into applause, and Darius felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. They had created a community that transcended the boundaries of sports and academics, and it was something he was immensely proud of. As the basketball season drew to a close, Darius received news from his doctor that he was cleared to return to the court. The announcement was met with cheers from his teammates, who had eagerly awaited his return. "Welcome back, Dare," Jamal exclaimed, clapping him on the back as they suited up for practice. "It feels good to be back," Darius replied, a grin spreading across his face. "I've missed this." Stepping onto the court once more, Darius felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had faced setbacks and challenges, but he had emerged stronger and more determined than ever. The support of his friends, teachers, and teammates had been instrumental in his journey, and he was grateful for the community they had built together. As the final game of the season approached, Darius and his teammates were determined to end on a high note. The atmosphere in the gym was electric, with students, teachers, and parents filling the stands in support of their team. Darius felt the familiar rush of adrenaline as the game began, his movements fluid and confident. Each pass, dribble, and shot felt like a testament to the hard work and resilience he and his teammates had demonstrated all season. The game was intense, with both teams delivering exceptional performances. As the clock ticked down to the final minutes, Darius found himself at the center of the action, his heart pounding with anticipation. With the score tied and just seconds remaining, Darius knew this was a pivotal moment. He glanced at his teammates, each of them ready and eager to seize the opportunity. "Let's finish strong," Darius shouted, rallying his team as they prepared for the final play. As the ball was inbounded, Darius moved with precision, weaving through defenders with a determination that had been honed through months of hard work and perseverance. He felt the weight of the moment, but he also felt the strength of his community behind him. With a swift pass from Jamal, Darius positioned himself near the three-point line, the opposing team scrambling to close the gap. He took a deep breath, focused on the basket, and released the shot. Time seemed to slow as the ball sailed through the air, the crowd holding its breath in anticipation. Darius watched as the ball swished through the net, sealing their victory and sending the gym into an uproar of cheers and applause. His teammates rushed to him, their voices a chorus of celebration as they lifted him onto their shoulders. Darius felt a surge of joy and pride, the culmination of months of hard work and determination. As he looked around at the jubilant faces of his friends, teachers, and classmates, Darius realized that this victory was more than just a win on the court. It was a testament to the power of community, the strength of resilience, and the impact of believing in oneself and each other. In the days that followed, Darius reflected on the journey he had undertaken, how a single moment of humiliation had sparked a movement, leading to a community that thrived on support and empowerment. He knew that the lessons he had learned would stay with him long after the final buzzer, shaping him into a leader both on and off the court. With the season behind him and his future ahead, Darius felt ready to embrace whatever challenges lay in wait. He had proven to himself and others that he was more than just a basketball player. He was a scholar, a leader, and a catalyst for change. As he walked through the halls of the school, he felt a renewed sense of belonging, a connection to the community he had helped build. And he knew that no matter what came next, he had the strength, resilience, and support to succeed. Darius stood in the center of the gym, the echoes of cheers still ringing in his ears. As the adrenaline from the game began to fade, he felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought him here. The victory was sweet, but it was the growth and resilience he had discovered along the way that truly resonated with him. In the days that followed, the school buzzed with excitement, the basketball team's triumph serving as a beacon of inspiration. Darius found himself at the heart of this renewed energy, his story of perseverance and leadership spreading throughout the community. Mr. Thompson approached him one afternoon, a look of genuine respect in his eyes. "Darius, you've shown incredible strength and maturity this season. I've learned a lot from you, and I'm proud of the leader you've become." "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," Darius replied, feeling the weight of those words. It had been a challenging road, but hearing that acknowledgement meant the world to him. As the school year drew to a close, Darius reflected on the bonds he had formed and the changes he had helped inspire. The study group had become a cornerstone of the school's culture, fostering a spirit of collaboration and mutual support. Students from all backgrounds participated, breaking down barriers and lifting each other up. Darius knew that the lessons he had learned extended far beyond the walls of the gym or the pages of his textbooks. He had discovered the power of resilience, the importance of community, and the impact of standing up for what was right. These were the foundations upon which he would build his future. Walking across the stage at graduation, Darius felt a surge of pride. He had faced challenges head-on and emerged stronger, ready to take on whatever lay ahead. As he accepted his diploma, he glanced at the audience, where his friends, family, and teachers cheered him on. Their support had been instrumental in his journey, and he was grateful for every moment. After the ceremony, Jamal caught up with him, a wide grin on his face. "We did it, Dare. Can you believe it?" "We did," Darius replied, his heart full, "and we're just getting started." Together they looked toward the future, knowing that the values they had embraced would guide them in the years to come. Darius felt a sense of purpose and possibility, eager to make a difference in the world beyond high school. As he took a final look at the place that had been both a challenge and a haven, Darius felt ready to step into the next chapter of his life. He had proven that he was more than just an athlete. He was a leader, a scholar, and a changemaker. You've made it to the end. If you enjoyed this story, I am confident that you'll love the next one appearing on the screen now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and please give this video a like. I'll see you in the next one.